For a minute there, it looked like I was going to be doing a Q&A with myself, but I've been joined by some beautiful people on our screens. Chris, can you switch it on to the crowd and then we can give everyone a wave if it's on me? Give me a thumbs up, Chris, when it's on the crowd. Give everyone a wave. Give him a wave. So basically, at some points they can see me, and at some points they can see you guys. So we're going to give this a go. If you don't know me, I'm Gus. I run our finances, I manage our building here, and also coordinate our evangelistic stuff. I'm just going to do a bit of a Q&A with these guys who have joined us via Zoom. So we hope this technology works. They're going to come off mute. Can we hear you?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Woo! It works.
It's working. The Chris's have been hard at work today, working their magic on the tech. So good job, guys. And we're just going to spend a few minutes. We're obviously in between two messages on our Building for the Future project. And there's been a few questions after Sunday and us handing out the booklets that we just wanted to chat about, and common questions that if they've been asked a couple of times, you may be thinking as well. So we just wanted to chat about them. First of all, before we get on to some buildings questions about the building, how come you're joining us via Zoom rather than here in the building?
It is a good question, Gus. Emily had COVID. I thought I'd got away with it. And then Tuesday ended up getting COVID as well. So we are currently isolating. It's that old chestnut. Matt, why are you not here though?
Here.
That is
yeah, not here. It's obviously why you're not here. Why aren't you there?
I'm not allowed there. So I have a wife, as you probably would all have heard, who is in Sister Act, the musical, and it's one of the umpteen millionth last rehearsals. So she's there.
Amazing. Sister Act and COVID. Pretty disparate reasons. But we're just going to ask a few questions about the building project. And the first one is about the kitchen. There's been so many encouraging messages about the kitchen and what the work there will mean that we can use that as a tool to serve our city. But we've had a few comments about the price of that, and it's £113,000 is quoted as the cost of the kitchen, and some people are saying, "Oh, that's quite a lot." Why is the kitchen going to cost about that much?
Yeah, that would be loads for an actual kitchen, wouldn't it, in itself? But there's as you might have seen from the video, and definitely if you have a look, there's lots of little rooms that will make up a bigger kitchen, and so we're having to knock through some walls, which is a big cost. Put in some electrics so they don't get fried again. So that's a cost. And also there's quite a generous sort of fund laid out for any unforeseen costs, and also project management. So I believe that if we run the projects all at the same time, then the project management fee will come down a lot. It's been quoted as individual projects running one after another rather than doing a couple of them at the same time.
Just to reiterate what Ben said, that it's worth going and having a look, because I imagine we couldn't see the video unfortunately, but I imagine it's quite hard to see on the video the fact that it's quite an underutilized space. It doesn't really make sense, and so in terms of just stewarding this building really well, it's just a great place to develop and actually make sense of it, and then also be able to get a nice big kitchen as well, which Matt is particularly excited about, I think.
Not in terms of the cost, but like the opportunity, which would definitely, like, to me, it's inconceivable that we will have a commercial kitchen and not run a business out of it. So it's as simple as that, really. And like knowing it will be a great blessing to the church. I mean, we can cater well, but I mean, typically church events are Sunday, Monday, Alpha on a Tuesday, so Social Hub 12 o'clock service on a Wednesday. If it was, for example, to do with weddings, then they're typically on a Saturday. So the idea of us using that kitchen Thursday, Friday, Saturday, to me seems like a really good and efficient use of resources, and be a real joy to be able to use it that way.
And the kitchen itself will be able to cater for up to 200 or so people. So no more multiple microwaves, rice cookers, all of that. There'll be cooking facilities for up to 200. It will comfortably do our 12 o'clock service week in, week out, alpha, and all of those great things. And we can serve and love people well through that.
Great. Can you see me again? Excellent. We've got then a couple of questions about the accessibility project, and we obviously talked about the top floor as well of this building. So this building, in part of it, is 2 floors, most of it, and then in this central section it goes up to a 2nd floor. So there's a question about why can't we put a lift right the way to the top floor, and then also a question about the loo facilities, the disabled loo facilities that we're putting in. It doesn't look like it's big enough for the best kind of loo facilities, which are called changing places toilets. Do you want to speak a little bit to those 2 questions?
I think the lift, partly it just comes down to the design of our building, that it's very difficult to get a lift up to the top floor. I think if we did, it would cost a lot of money, but I think it's quite a challenge. But actually going up to the 1st floor, the main thing really is that if we had somebody with mobility issues that couldn't get to the 1st floor, a lot of our kids' work happens up there. Also, we have offices up on our 1st floor. So actually, just by having a lift up to that 1st floor, really, it opens everything up for people. We've obviously been running courses downstairs where we've needed to, but to be able to make full use of the big rooms upstairs as well for different things like courses makes complete sense. So actually, there's not really the need to go up to the 2nd floor as well.
And as and when we employ someone with mobility issues, we've also got offices on the 1st floor anyway, so we'd be able to employ someone and they would have a great office space. If Matt and the team there start yet another business, we will be able to cater for that situation. And yeah, we've got everything we need on the 1st floor.
Great. I think this is my final question before we just have a couple of questions maybe from the floor if we've got a bit of time. What are the timescales? What are the timescales for this building project? We're doing Giving Days at the end of March. When do we reckon we'll actually do the work?
We want to.
It's a good question.
Yeah, we want to do it as soon as we possibly can, but we also want to make sure we've got the right contractor and the right team, and it's going to be at a time which isn't going to be too disruptive for day to day. But we do realise, like, this is such an exciting project for us, and such an opportunity that we want to make sure we do it well. The plan will be to tender and to get the best possible price, and then start things sort of spring, summertime, around that sort of time frame. Matt, I don't know if you have any extra contacts that you know most of the construction companies in Nottingham, don't you? Can you speed things up for us?
Yeah, I'd certainly be happy to try and persuade some of them into it. And yeah, I think that the sooner it happens, obviously, the sooner there's options are in play. But at the same time, there's no point rushing into it and getting the first quote that comes through that ends up being more expensive or not the best person for the job. So yeah, I mean, when my thinking, if it happens at some point in 2022, would we start catering in 2023? Absolutely. So that's that sort of timescale.
Awesome. Go for it, Ben.
Sorry, I was going to say there is a website where I think we'll put details up right at the end, and that will list sort of updates on. There'll be a lot more detail with the different building projects, updates with how things are going as well. So for those of you who that really lights you up, then you'll be able to find out full details. You can also just chat to us. that's another great option. But we'll keep people up to date through that website.
There was actually just one more question, which I missed out before, but here we go. Yeah, is there any way that we can open up the front entrance anymore? We've got the visibility project, but yeah, what do we think about doing something even more extreme there?
Gus, you and your extreme. It's so weird when you can't see anyone when you're speaking. We we have this weird situation with our building in that King Edward VIII, I think it was, before he abdicated his throne, it was during this time that this building was opened. And so because of that, it's of national significance, and it means the facade is protected. And so, and we're in a conservation area as well. So there's a limit to how much we can do to the facade. However, actually putting in a really great canopy and having a totem with which will point people towards the direction of that entrance, and putting in a bit more glass will make it abundantly clear that what people are coming into is a church. But yeah, we are limited. We can't do anything too wild, Gus. So
All my mad, crazy ideas went out the window quite quickly. Thank you so much, Zoom panel. We're gonna just we've got a couple of minutes before we need to move on. We're going to take communion together in a second. Rosie's going to lead us in that. But if there are any, we just wanted to make space, I suppose, for any particular questions or comments that people did have. Maybe we could have a roving mic so that people can be heard. If anyone does have any comments or questions, I suppose now's a great opportunity for just a couple of minutes.
I just wanted to ask, you talked about feeding the city, and I'm totally out of date in terms of what the provision is at the moment in terms of food in the city, hot meals, etc. What's that situation like at the moment across the city for those that need it? And what gaps are there for us to fill?
Did you guys hear that on the Zoom?
yeah, thanks, John.
Do you want me to take that, Ben? Great. Great. So it depends when the food is. So food provision, obviously we provide food after our Baby Basics ministry on a Tuesday and a 12 o'clock service on a Wednesday. Food provision across the city for afternoon and evening meals is quite good. In fact, we know people who do exist by going around them. One of the ministries I'd love to really explore is a ministry out to the homeless, and in order to provide a breakfast ministry, of which there is very little at the moment in the city, and will be a great opportunity to actually meet people where they're at, and also then be able to build a ministry that draws people into our community.
Any more for any more?
The last you spoke about money, you wrote to us saying about the deficit in our budget. Is there any update on that? And then how does that relate to the budget for this?
Ben, do you want to take that, or shall I?
Gus, you start us off, and then I can jump in there.
So that was back in November. We wrote to you about that, and we prayed hard as a church to ask for God's provision, and we had a trustees meeting at the end of January, and God has provided pretty miraculously, actually. We wrote to you saying, I think the deficit was 37,000 when we wrote to you for this year, and through individual gifts and people committing to updating their regular giving, and then also related to food, Nottingham City Council gave us a £10,000 grant for running food ministries. So some of that, we've already spent that money, but that's going against our budget deficit as well. Various other things mean that our budget is for this academic year, instead of being in £37,000 of deficit, we're going to be in £13,000 surplus. So praise God for his provision. Yeah, as I was putting that together for the trustees, I was just like, wow, God, you have provided. And I suppose to your question, how is that related to this? It's actually quite separate in the way we think about it. The giving towards the building will be a restricted fund that we can only spend on building enhancements. And so we're now in a place where our year on year regular giving is in a good place, and we'll set a budget for next academic year soon. But yeah, we're in a good place there. Thanks to those who've upped their giving. Thanks to Nottingham City Council, I suppose. Mainly thanks to God's provision. But yeah, anything to add, Ben?
Yeah, it's worth saying that, well, firstly, JP's going to talk a little bit more about that and giving on Sunday, but it's worth saying that a massive part of this has been the heart of Grace Enterprises and conversations Matt and I had years ago, and this sort of sense of Grace Enterprises being an organisation which we initially gave to, but the heart has always been for Matt and the team, that actually it's something that contributes to the life of the church. And so Matt's made and the team have made a significant step in that place. And so rather than us giving money towards Grace Enterprises, some of the money's actually started to come back, and they've reduced our cleaning bill as well, and also pay a little bit for the office monthly, which was always the heart. But Matt stepped out, and the team has stepped out in faith with that. So that actually contributes almost £10,000 to the pot as well. So yeah, but it has been such an amazing sign of God's provision. And so thank you for everyone for reviewing, giving, and yeah, things have turned around in a couple of months. So praise God.
Praise God. We're going to wrap up the Q&A there for now. Thank you so much, Zoom. I don't know whether you're just going to disappear now, probably, because we're going to take communion here. But if you do have any more questions, do come and grab me or grab any of the staff and ask those. There is a web page now, gracechurchnottingham.org/building project, where you'll be able to at some point see Chris and my faces again if you want to. But you'll be able to see the booklet there in digital form if you want to, and the talks and that kind of thing. So do go there to see any more information.